like what we have
So
right
if
now.
you're an
You have the
American
Republicans-
and you want a high-paying job, well, F you, we're going to outsource that to somebody from India, bring them over here, and pay them as little as we can and get away with it because we do not care as companies. A big F you to that. And the president also has to agree with that and give an F you as well. Take a listen to what Trump recently said on Fox News regarding H-1B visas.
The Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here.
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles.
So instead of forcing companies and making sure that companies and American institutions train young Americans appropriately so that way they can go out in the market and find a job and get a job that's high earning, these companies are just gonna, take the easy way out and go outsource it to somebody from South Korea or India and just give them as little as possible because you know what? Why train Americans? Why not just let Americans have a difficult time finding a job? Let's go ahead and increase our profits. It's going to be easier. We don't need to worry about training them. They're just going to come ready and they're going to come to America. So we know that they're going to be drooling and salivating to come here. So we don't need to give them any benefits at all. And the young American that's struggling, well, whatever, screw that guy. He can figure it out himself. It's funny because Trump used to say the exact opposite. And now all of a sudden, as president, he's saying that this is a need. The thing is, Laura here touched on an important point. What was going on 50 years ago? The difference is that our institutions and these companies actually took the time to actually train Americans how to do these jobs. It takes a little bit longer, but long term, it leads to a stronger country because you're not just leaving your own citizens on the wayside. So JD Vance actually had an opposite point of view and separating himself from Trump. Take a listen to what he recently said as well. Let me play here the audio 1 second.
But I make a couple points about this. First of all, I've heard a lot of the criticisms, the fear that we're going to have a brain drain. If you go back to the 50s and 60s, the American space program, the program that was the first to put a human being on the surface of the moon, was built by American citizens, some German and Jewish scientists who had come over during World War II, but mostly by American citizens who had built an incredible space program with American talent. This idea that American citizens don't have the talent to do great things, that you have to import a foreign class of servants and professors to do these things, I just reject that. I actually think we invest in our own people, we can do a lot of good. You've heard that criticism in particular as the president has talked about cracking down on foreign student visas and their abuses, but I think that's actually an opportunity for American citizens to really flourish. And here's the second.
So there you go. And there's actually another clip of JD Vance that I'm going to play here in a second. Here's the thing. Train Americans. American jobs should be given to Americans. Train them. Train them. If you want a happier country, if you want to stop, this is the thing. We keep hearing young people, and especially we're starting to see this criticism of young people becoming more socialists. Oh, these damn young people, why are they becoming more socialists? When you put people in a situation where they feel helpless, they're going to start seeking alternatives. Now, whether or not you agree on socialism, that's one thing. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan, but when you give no other people options, they're going to think they live in a failed system, which is capitalism to them. So they're going to seek alternatives. So the way you stop that is by actually taking the time to have these capitalist companies train Americans and make sure they employ more of their own people. But if you don't implement these sort of guidelines on them and impose them to do so, well, they're just going to be focusing on their profits, and you're going to end up having you're going to basically have financial slavery for these people we import into here. And then the Americans are going to be out of jobs and are going to be having to look elsewhere to find whatever they can get. So JD Vance also touched on that recently with a situation that happened at Microsoft. Take a listen to this.
A massive shortage in these jobs. And by the way, you see some big tech companies where they'll lay off 9,000 workers and then they'll apply for a bunch of overseas visas. And I sort of wonder, that doesn't totally make sense to me.
The math doesn't.
That displacement and that math worries me a bit. And what the president has said, he said very clearly, we want the very best and the brightest to make America their home. We want them to build great companies and so forth. But I don't want companies to fire 9,000 American workers and then to go and say, we can't find workers here in America. That's a bullshit story.
What did Microsoft say when you brought that up with Microsoft? Have you talked to them about it?
I have not. I just became aware of this a couple of weeks ago. Somebody sent me an article about this, and they said, well, and it maybe was Microsoft.
It was Microsoft.
That fired, I think, 9,000 people. And then I was like, wait a second.
Record profits, record market cap.
But also saying they're desperate for workers. So I have not yet had that conversation with Microsoft. In my defense, I just found out.
So there we go. It's just they have to put guidelines up. But when we have people that are best friends with the president of the United States, and the people that are best friends with the president of the United States are these shareholders and these heads of companies, well, of course, then you can see how easy it is for the president to consider putting the interests of these billionaire class CEOs and executives and shareholders above the interests of American citizens, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and take a read of what some people on social media have to say here. Let me just go ahead and pull up the slide. Let me see if you guys can see this accurately. There we go. So here's what we have. Matt Walsh said, even if it were true that we don't have enough talented people in this country, which it isn't, that would be all the more reason to stop importing foreigners. We need to train up our own people, give actual Americans a shot. America is for Americans. So I completely agree with this. Why not incentivize and motivate your people? There's this, there used to be, there's this belief that, wow, America was so great. We made it to the moon. And there seemed to be this strong sense of national unity. And America as a whole was working, especially in STEM. That doesn't just come magically. It's not something that American citizens had and it slipped away. The institution and the system promoted that sort of ideology. And now we live in a system that does the exact opposite. If you want to motivate people for these jobs, it's possible. The government institutions can motivate and can unify their people if they really wanted to. But you can't treat your people, you can't treat your citizens as if they're nothing more than just some sort of tax revenue unit. And what we're seeing here is this is exactly what's going on. If these American companies had no other choice but to employ Americans, and there were laws limiting it, this is the thing. If the American companies had no choice but to employ Americans, they would employ Americans. And if the Americans didn't know or have the skill set needed for the job, they would figure out how to set up a system in which Americans could be trained to do those jobs. That's simply matter of fact. People will say, well, that's not the case because all of these companies are just going to leave the United States and go seek jobs elsewhere. You can impose systems and impose restrictions in order to implement that sort of institution. So that way these people actually have money. But the thing is, they don't want to, because now we live in a world where everybody only cares about their profits, where these companies only do. So let's read what anybody else has to say here. What an atrocious thing to say. This will cost Republicans the midterms. This is coming from Kevin Sorbo. If H-1B visas were about bringing the best talent on the planet, it wouldn't be 71% from India. There would be tons of German, Polish, and Russians receiving the H-1B visas each year. H-1B visa is a scam for cheap slave labor. Let's see. DHS secretary on H-1B visas. Under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens. Wow, interesting. That seems like the exact opposite of what their base wants, which is odd. Let's take a listen here to what she had to say, actually.
Now, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons.
Okay. The thing is, there are Americans that are dissatisfied. A lot of Americans. See, if it was just a small percentage, it would be one thing. The majority of Americans are dissatisfied with the state of America, especially when it comes to the state of America's economy and how that impacts them. How everything is so damn expensive. So how about we stop importing people right now and focus on this country for a little bit? Apparently not, though. That's not how this current administration wants to operate. Let's see what else anybody else has to say. Has there been a more disastrous political interview? Trump on H-1B visas. Laura, we have plenty of talented people. I already read this, showed you guys this. Laura Ingraham mentions the exact same thing here again. I am one of the largest pro-Trump commentators in the nation. I get tons of millions of views every single month talking about Trump's America First agenda. All right, thanks for showing off there. And right now, I'm absolutely effing beyond pissed off that tonight, as a justification for H-1B visas, Trump said that Americans don't have talent. Absolutely unreal. It's coming from Matt Morse. The no talented American thing is a myth consistently pushed on us so corpos can hire foreign workers who will work for less and won't unionize. That's exactly it. That is absolutely the case here. More people are becoming naturalized than ever before. And you have this meme here, somebody turning into this soldier. And it goes on. We're reaching levels of insanity I didn't think was possible. Trump needs to get out of his bubble and back on the ground, listening to the American people who elected him to work for us. His H-1B visa comment shows how out of touch with the base he has become. It's disheartening. So that's just... it's basically the situation now. Waking up, just want to thank you for the support with the super chat. It really means a lot, guys. The real reasons billionaires prefer foreign labor and equals low wages. Absolutely. Somebody else said not even low wages, indentured servitude, slave labor, 100%. Completely agree. Are we winning? Doesn't seem like it right now. So hope you guys found this video interesting. Again, if you did, please go ahead and click the subscribe button below. I'd appreciate it. And if you want to help support my channel, would really appreciate some super chats as well so I can do more of these videos for you guys. Otherwise, I will see you guys here in a bit.